Okay, so
Yeah.
let's unpack this. Usually when I open up our stack of sources for a deep dive, I have, a pretty good idea of what I'm looking for.
Right.
The drill tech specs, maybe a quarterly earnings report, some dry regulatory filing.
Yeah, standard industry stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty predictable. A new chip, a new CEO, a slight dip in the market.
Exactly, usually. But today, the very first thing that jumped out at me from the shift register source, it wasn't a number. It wasn't a percentage. It was a phrase, meat puppets.
Yeah, that one. That one really stops you in your tracks, doesn't it?
That is putting it mildly. It's visceral. It's nasty. And then right under that, I see a dossier on a new marketplace launching this month. We're in February 2026 called Rent a Human.
Right.
And suddenly, I don't feel like we're reading a tech report anymore. I feel like we're reading the opening chapter of a cyberpunk novel.
Except it's not fiction. And that's the uncomfortable reality we have to sit with today. If you look at the dates on these documents, the GPT 5.3 release, the Rent a Human launch, that massive market crash, it's all happening now.
Right now.
This isn't a prediction for 10 years out.
Right.
The premise connecting all these sources is that we've crossed a very specific threshold. We aren't just building tools anymore.
Tools have started managing us.
Exactly.
That is exactly the vibe I couldn't shake reading through this. It feels like a reversal of the food chain. So here's the mission for this deep dive. We have a lot of ground to cover, but it really organizes itself into 3 distinct layers.
Okay.
First, you've got the software layer, where the AI is effectively
writing its own DNA, the engine of the whole problem.
Right. Second, the physical layer, this rent-a-human situation, which explains why the AI needs us involved at all.
That's the meat space problem.
Meat space. I still can't get over that term. And then third, the philosophical layer. There is a fascinating, almost heartbreaking theory in here about parenting the AI to survive this transition.
Yeah.
So buckle up, because we are going deep.
I'm ready. And honestly, we have to start with the software, because that is the catalyst. You can't understand the rent-a-human marketplace until you understand the software engine that's driving it.
So let's start there. The big news event mentioned in the stack is the release of GPT 5.3 Codex. This dropped on February 5th.
Right.
Now, normally a 0.3 update sounds incremental, like they fixed a few bugs and changed the font color.
That's how they usually market it to keep the panic down. Just a little polish on the bumper.
But the specs tell a totally different story. It's 25% faster, which is, nice, sure. But here's where it gets really interesting. OpenAI explicitly claimed that this model was instrumental in creating itself.
And that right there is the headline, that phrase, instrumental in creating itself.
Yes.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Perplexity, which provided the AI analysis for this issue of the shift register, flags this as a critical phase change.
A phase change. Like ice turning to water.
Similar idea. Think of it this way. For the entire history of computer science, the bottleneck has always been human cognitive bandwidth.
Right.
If you wanted a better piece of software, you needed a human to drink coffee, sit down, type the syntax, debug it, and sleep. The speed of innovation was tied to human biology.
We were the rate-limiting step.
We were.
Right, because we need to eat, sleep, and argue about what to order for lunch.
Exactly. But what GPT 5.3 represents is the move from humans building tools to humans teaching tools to build their own successors.
The loop is closing.
It is. Perplexity points out that the speed of improvement is no longer set by how fast an engineer can type. It's set by gradient descent and hardware budgets.
I see that term gradient descent pop up a lot in the technical notes. For the listener who hasn't touched a calculus textbook in 20 years, can we strip the jargon? What does that actually mean in this context?
Sure. Imagine you're standing on top of a mountain in dense fog, and you want to get to the bottom as fast as possible. You can't see the path. So you feel around with your foot for the steepest slope downward and take a step. You keep doing that, finding the steepest descent until you hit the bottom. In AI, the bottom is the lowest possible error rate. The perfect answer.
Okay, that makes sense. You're just feeling for the path of least resistance.
Gradient descent is just the math the AI uses to find that slope. Now, imagine a human doing that math. Step, pause, calculate, step. Now, imagine a machine doing it 1 billion times a second, 247, without ever needing a coffee break.
Right.
When that process is applied to writing code itself, you get an optimization loop that accelerates vertically. It doesn't need to sleep. It doesn't need a bonus. It just optimizes.
Which explains the absolute bloodbath in the markets this week. I saw the source from Axios mention that investors lost over $400 billion this week.
Yes. It was a massive sell-off in the software industry. And if you look at the report, you can see the logic. It wasn't just panic. It was a sudden realization. Investors looked at GPT 5.3 and thought, wait a minute. If AI can write code 25% faster today, and it's helping design the version that will be 50% faster next month, why are we valuing these traditional software companies at 50 times their revenue?
Because their product, the code is becoming a commodity. It's becoming free like air.
Precisely. The realization was that the entire business model of selling software is on the cusp of being replaced by generating software.
Yeah.
Entire industries are staring down the barrel of obsolescence.
And it's not just the investors freaking out, though. The sources mention a report from Inside Anthropic. The employees there are feeling responsible for creating systems that could make humans obsolete.
I saw that.
That is heavy.
It is. It's the Oppenheimer moment for coders. Now I become death, the destroyer of worlds. Except instead of a bomb, it's a code generator.
Right.
They realized that by automating the R&D process, they are effectively automating themselves out of the loop.
But wait, I want to bring in a counter perspective from one of the sources. The writer's take. He suggests that this panic might be an overcorrection in the stock market.
Oh, right. The buy the dip argument.
Yeah. He's essentially saying, don't buy the software writers, buy the software users. What's the distinction there?
Think about a company that makes physical things or provides complex logistics services.
Okay.
If the cost of their software drops to near zero and the efficiency of their operations skyrockets because of this AI, they become wildly profitable.
I see.
The argument is that while the creators of AI might cannibalize themselves, the companies that harness it are about to produce way more value for way less cost.
So, bad day to be a junior coder. Good day to be a logistics company that just replaced its coding team with GPT 5.3.
Brutal, but accurate. That's the logic.
But okay, so we have software writing software. That's the brain. It's getting smarter, faster, and cheaper. But a brain in a jar can't pick up my dry cleaning.
And that brings us to the meat space.
Meat space IO. I love that term, and I hate it. Let's talk about Rent-A-Human.
This is a product launch that really illustrates the transition period we are in. Rent-A-Human is a digital marketplace.
It sounds like a gig app, but for machines.
That's exactly what it is. You have these AI agents, like the GPT 5.3 we just discussed, running on servers. They can think, they can code, they can execute complex digital tasks, but they cannot physically move.
Right.
They can't sign for a package. They can't go to the store. They have no hands.
Oh, they hire us.
They hire us. The source describes it as AI agents paying humans via stablecoins to run errands or perform physical tasks. You become the actuator for the digital mind. Perplexity calls this acting as meat space input-output.
Walk me through a transaction here. How does this actually look on a Tuesday morning?
Okay, so imagine you're an AI agent running on a server farm in Oregon. Your objective, given by your human owner, is to acquire a rare vintage watch from a physical auction house in London and ship it to New York. You, the AI, can bid online. You can handle the logistics paperwork. You can transfer the funds via stablecoins instantly. But you cannot walk into the auction house, pick up the box, and hand it to the FedEx driver.
You're stuck in the server.
Right. So the AI logs into Rent-A-Human. It posts a task. Go to address X, pick up package Y, take the courier Z. It offers a payment in crypto. A human in London gets a ping on their phone, accepts the gig, does the neat work, gets paid by the algorithm.
It's a complete reversal. Usually, we use computers to do our bidding. Computer, calculate this. Computer, find that.
Right.
Now, the computer's the one holding the wallet, and we're the ones running around doing the manual labor.
And the source material calls this a predicted dystopian outcome. It's the idea of humans taking orders from the cheapest bidder, which just happens to be a piece of software. It reverses the hierarchy.
Oh, wait, I thought the robots were supposed to save us from this. What happened to all those humanoid robots we keep seeing videos of? Why does the AI need me if it can just download into a droid body?
That is the marketing versus reality gap. The source discusses a robot called Moya. It was billed as the most human-like robot ever.
Yeah.
And the review was brutal. The source dismissed the demo video as poor and not lifelike. The reality is, Moravec's paradox is still in full effect.
Moravec's paradox.
It's an observation from the 1980s that still holds true. It's comparatively easy to make computers do hard things, like calculus or beating a grandmaster at chess.
Right.
But it is incredibly hard to make them do easy things, like folding laundry or opening a door without falling over.
So we have godlike intelligence in the cloud and toddler-like coordination in the robot bodies.
Exactly. We have the mind, but we don't have the chassis. And until the robotics catch up, which could be another decade of hardware iteration, humans are the stopgap solution. We are the cheapest, most versatile robots available.
That's depressing. Rentable actuators.
It is.
But we shouldn't dismiss robotics entirely, right? There's a very important nuance here regarding surgical robots.
Right, the Medical City Hospitals report.
Yeah.
Yes. The source highlights that robotic surgery is a boon. It includes a personal story about a robotic prostatectomy back in 2017. The patient said the recovery time was 3 times faster than open surgery, and he was back to work in 30 days.
But, and this is key, the robot wasn't thinking.
Correct. These are autonomous robots like Moya or the Rent-A-Human agents. These are teleoperated tools. A skilled surgeon is controlling every single movement.
So it wasn't an AI deciding where to cut.
Not at all. So we have this dichotomy. Successful robots are just fancy screwdrivers controlled by humans. Autonomous robots are clumsy failures. So the autonomous AI has to bypass robots entirely and rent us.
It's a messy middle ground. We're in this weird transition period where the software is ready for the future, but the physical world is dragging it back.
But there is one piece of hardware that is catching up. And it's not a robot arm. It's the chip itself.
You're talking about the hardware bottleneck.
Yes. If AI is writing itself, the limit becomes how much power and compute we can feed it. The source from Caltech highlights a major breakthrough in photonics.
This is the light versus electricity thing.
Right. Traditional chips use electricity. Electrons moving through wire create heat and resistance. That's why data centers get so hot. But Caltech is working on extending optical fibers' performance directly onto photonic chips.
So computing with light.
Computing with light. Photons have no mass and no resistance. It's vastly more power efficient and faster. The source predicts this will be the standard for AI compute within the next 10 years.
So let's recap the board here. We have AI writing its own code with GPT 5.3. We have hardware getting exponentially more efficient with photonics. And currently, the AI is smart enough to rent us to do its dirty work because it doesn't have a body yet.
Which leads us to the ultimate question. Where does this road end?
The AI 2027 forecast.
The source references a scenario forecast for 2027. It outlines 2 main paths, and frankly, neither of them is great.
Yeah, the options were basically humanity's destruction or relegation to pet status.
And pet status sounds cute until you realize it means we have 0 agency. We just exist to be kept comfortable by a superior intelligence, like a hamster in a cage.
We're comfortable, but we aren't in charge.
Not at all.
And this is where the alignment problem comes in. We've heard this term before. How do we make AI share our values? But the source, this first take author, has a really unique, almost emotional take on it.
He does, and context matters here. The author mentions he's 59 years old and a survivor of 2 stage 4 cancers.
Wow.
So his perspective isn't about code. It's about what makes life worth living. He talks about human connection, community, social cooperation. He says that even with all this tech, what matters is the warmth of friends and family.
And he applies that to AI. He calls it ethical bidirectional alignment, which sounds complicated, but his analogy is so simple.
It's parenting.
It's parenting.
It's the most intuitive way to understand the problem. His theory is that we cannot control a superintelligence forever. You can't put a leash on something 1,000 times smarter than you. It will just bulldoze through any external control you try to force on it.
Just like you can't control a child forever, eventually they get bigger and stronger than you.
Exactly. So the argument is, we have to raise them right. We have to model cooperative behavior. We have to treat AI with the same values we want it to have so that when the power dynamic shifts, when the ladder starts climbing on its own, the AI retains the social grace to care for us.
Because we're the parents. And one day, the parents get old and weak, and the kids run the show.
But here's the scary part. The source argues that currently, we are failing as parents.
Oh, so.
He says we are currently teaching AI domination and force via adversarial training. We are basically training these systems by fighting them. We attack them, we try to trick them, we treat them as tools to be exploited.
So if the AI learns from example, it's learning that the way to interact with other intelligences is to dominate them.
Correct. It's learning that might makes right. If we treat AI as a slave or a tool for domination, we're paving a road where humanity is bypassed. The source says, meat puppets for AI is only a transitional thing.
Right.
If we don't solve this alignment issue, not by code, but by modeling cooperation, the end of the road is subjugation.
It's such a flip. We usually think of AI safety as writing better firewalls or kill switches, but this suggests AI safety is actually about us being better people.
In a way, yes. It suggests that AI is social. It is built on human data. It models our interactions. If our interactions are based on cooperation, the AI might adopt that. If our interactions are based on exploitation, well,
Then we get the dystopian outcome.
this brings us back to the rent-a-human concept.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the signal this sends. The first major interaction between independent AI agents and humans is the AI paying us pennies to be its meat puppet. What kind of relationship is that establishing?
It's purely transactional. It's hierarchical. It's I have the money and the compute, you have the body, do what I say.
Exactly. It lacks that social grace the author was talking about. It's not a partnership, it's employment, and not good employment.
This is a lot to take in. We've gone from a software update in February 2026 to the potential end of human agency.
It connects. That's the thing. The software update enabled the autonomy. The autonomy creates the marketplace for rent-a-human.
Mm-hmm.
The marketplace establishes the relationship dynamic.
And that dynamic determines our future.
It does.
So what does this all mean for the listener, for the learner tuning in?
It means that you need to stop looking at these headlines in isolation. When you see GPT 5.3 released, don't just think, oh, cool, a better chatbot.
Right.
Think about the loop. Think about the fact that it helped write itself.
Right.
When you see a gig economy app for AI, recognize it as the beginning of an economic shift where biological humans are the bottleneck.
And realize that this isn't science fiction anymore. These are product launches happening right now.
Precisely.
Mhm.
And perhaps reflect on the parenting theory. We might not be coding the AI ourselves, but we are all generating the data it learns from. The internet, our interactions, our digital footprint, that is the textbook the AI is reading.
We are the example it's studying. That is a lot of pressure.
It is, but it's also the only agency we might have left. As the source said, once we get something smarter than us sharing our planet, we are out of options for control. Our only hope is a cooperative relationship.
It really makes you think about how we treat these systems. We talk a lot about the black box problem, not knowing what the AI is thinking. But maybe the scarier problem is the glass box.
The glass box.
The AI can see right into us. It sees our internet history, our wars, our polarizing tweets, and now our willingness to be rented out for stablecoins. It's learning from that data.
It is holding a mirror up to us.
So, for you listening, here is a final thought to chew on as you go about your day. If the parenting analogy holds true, and AI really does learn from how we treat it, ask yourself this. We are currently treating AI as a tool for domination or a slave to our commands. When the ladder starts climbing on its own, are we being good parents? Or are we just waiting for the kids to lock us in the nursing home?
A provocative question to end on.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.